Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Ahmad Austin here with Try to Fail. What's going on? It is a lovely Saturday morning, and my kids are playing Fortnite again. And I want to do this video while we're still in quarantine, simply talking about podcasts. I know a lot of you know about podcasts, a lot of people listen to podcasts. I started listening to podcasts about 10 years ago. Started with one and just fell in love with listening to that particular podcast and just started listening to a whole bunch of them, mostly around self help. What I want to talk to you about on this video is during this time while you're at home, it's a good time to start a podcast. If you always wanted to start a podcast, I started one about a year or two ago, and I can tell you how many people have said they enjoyed my podcast. So, of course, the podcast Try to Fail. If you have been trying to decide if you want to do a podcast, this is a good time to do it while you're at home. Put down the nachos, the Cheetos, and all those things. My son looking over at me. Put down those things and learn how to create a podcast. It's really easy. 10 years ago, it wasn't that easy. Believe me, it wasn't that easy. But today, it's so much easier. You got so many different apps, so many different videos showing you how to do it. I created one for my church first, and then I created one for myself. And back then, I paid for this course and to show me how to do everything. It wasn't so available like it is now on YouTube. Talk about three things that you need to do to create your podcast. First, decide what you want your podcast to be about. I mean, there are so many types of podcasts out there, from religion, from business, from health, from I saw one on divorce, from dating, from single parents, from there's math, science, entertainment, music, rock and roll, rap, even TV shows. So decide what you want to do your podcast on first, and then after you do that, even if you have more than one idea, I would say pick one. Pick one you think you enjoy doing for years upon years. Pick that one. And then go to the next step, which is to learn how to set up your podcast. There's so many videos out there, so many people that you can kind of find to resonate with to show you how to create a podcast. Excuse me. Um, I can go on a list and list about so many people, but all you gotta do is type in how to create a podcast, and there'll be a plethora of videos and information out there. Just find somebody that you resonate, that you trust, and you don't have to pay for a course like I did today. I mean, there's so much information out there, unless you want to, but you don't have to when you first get started. There are people who have courses to show you how to market your podcast. You might want to pay for that, but other than that, I would say just to start out, there's so many free information out there. After you set up your podcast, watch videos on how to set up your podcast, then it's time to do the work. Actually set up your podcast, get the equipment, get the mic, get the, you don't have to really do that now. I mean, you can use your little headphones and hook it up to your phone, talk through your phone now. But if you want to get high quality, crisp audio, you definitely want to buy the right microphone and those kind of things to edit. There's software that you can use to edit your audio. You can even do it on apps now. I mean, it's so much easier compared to a few years ago. So find out what works for you. Don't get caught up in all the what microphone to use and all that. Not right now. I just say get it out there. Start. Set a date. Set a date for when you want your first episode to go out, and make sure it happens. Do everything you can to make sure it happens. One thing I will say is be consistent when you do your first podcast, or when you do your first episode, I should say. Always be consistent. So if you start making a podcast and you do it on a Monday, and have it come out on Monday, I would say try to have it come out on Monday every week, so to speak, or every Monday, Tuesday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, depending on how much time you have. Again, there's so many ways you can create your podcast. You can get sound effects. You can buy person. What am I trying to say? You can get someone to do an intro for you with the voiceovers and all that kind of thing. I mean, you don't have to when you first get started, because there's some popular podcasts don't have any sound effects or intros, and they still have a popular and reputable podcast. That's the one I'm thinking of right now. So, but if you want to, there's Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, and you can hire somebody for a few dollars just to create your own intro and outro for you. I've done that before too for several of my podcasts, even for the podcast I created for my church. So definitely try it out, and definitely try that website out. But again, don't get caught up in the tech and websites and all this stuff. I mean, don't get caught up in that. Just find somebody that you resonate with that show you how to do it and do exactly what they tell you to do. And again, be consistent with the content that you put out. I can't stress that enough. I've been guilty of it. I started do it, have a podcast come out, episode come out every week, and then I fall off or whatever. So the key is to be consistent. Be consistent, especially when you're in quarantine. We don't know how long we'll be in quarantine, but this is the time to definitely do it. All right. Hope you guys got some information out of this video. Again, there's a lot of videos out there that you can get to learn how to create a podcast, start a podcast. But use this time. Use this time instead of watching Netflix all day. Create your own podcast. Peace.